Welcome to Heidi Relationships. Today, we'll read some more stories from Reddit. But before we start, I would really appreciate if you could subscribe to the channel, like the video if you enjoyed it, and maybe leave a comment down below. That would help the channel a lot. Thank you very much in advance.
The first one is titled, "My girlfriend of 7 years cheated on me with my roommate." This is a real mess, so bear with me for the long post. Sorry ahead of time for the rambling. This has blown up over the last 2 months, so the wounds are fresh and I'm still not thinking straight, so it's going to jump around. I, am 25, was with my GF, 26, for 7 years. We lived together with 2 other guy roommates for the last 3 years. She started night shift a few years ago and quickly distanced herself from me. She wouldn't cuddle when we watched TV on her days off and only come to bed to cuddle for a minute or two when I went to bed each night. If she was home, there was time where she would have off for a week or two and she would spend most of that time with my roommate, M24, who I met because we lived together in dorms at college freshman year. Their time was usually to smoke weed together when guests were at the house, but always seemed a little more. I told myself that was just unreasonable jealousy because these are 2 people I trusted with my life. Fast forward to about a year ago. I had lost my job and my dad passed away within a month of each other. I really needed support but was still fighting for some affection from her, but no, work is first. I had no effort left to fight night shift, so I stopped rushing home for the few minutes I got to spend watching her do her makeup before leaving for the night. Mysteriously, she started spending a lot more time with my roommate around the same time. I would wake up in the middle of the night to them upstairs laughing and living it up. This whole time she blames me for not wanting to spend time together when she leaves for work at 7 p.m. and goes to bed around 5 a.m. I just graduated with an engineering degree and have been looking for a career to really establish my life, so night shift isn't really an option most places. She refused to accept that I couldn't change to night shift without throwing away my career that I've worked so hard for. Next thing I know, he's staying up later explicitly to spend time with her after work. He doesn't work and just sits at home, so moving when he sleeps doesn't affect him at all. She then started waking up earlier to go on hikes with him while I was at work. She finally off the relationship and blames my lack of effort to spend time together. 2 days later they went on a date and the next morning she came out for his room early in the morning. I moved out that day. They both claimed neither had feelings like that, but I didn't buy it and left. Fast forward a few months and now they are openly dating. Our other roommate confronted them about lying to both of us about their feelings for each other and betraying us. They both fight that their feelings for each other started after the breakup, but that's clearly not what was happening. This is someone I was ready to marry, but she didn't want to spend time together and swears that she's known for years that I would never marry her. And she cheated with my roommate that I called a brother. For years if someone mentioned cheating she would blow off on a rant about how cheaters are the worst, and if I ever cheated she would never talk to me again. How cheating doesn't have to be physical. Now that she cheated and I blew up on them like she promised, they both doubled down on denying cheating. I have never been more betrayed in my life. Just a few extra details that missed in the main. The night we finally broke up she came down to the bedroom, broke up with me, and within 60 seconds of leaving the room was upstairs in the living room laughing up a storm with him. Our other roommate and my best friend didn't move out initially because we both still were trying to believe that they weren't that involved with each other. When it was clear, he would hear them through the not soundproof walls of the house sneaking around. Their relationship was romantic. He confronted them, and they made up a lie trying to claim that I was just looking for an excuse to move in with my sister. My best friend flipped out and then moved out, and the 2 of them have no one left but each other. Neither have any friends outside of the house, and now they don't have any friends in general. They swear nothing was happening while we were still dating, but still found it necessary to try and hide the romantic part of their relationship from our roommate after I left, which just screams, "We know what we're doing but don't actually care about how terrible it is." The next story is titled, "Insane Stepsister." The story starts like this. So, I met my 25 female boyfriend, Tim, 26 male 3.5 years ago. We hit it off. He was great and sweet, and we get along perfectly. Until I introduced him to my family. My mother had gotten remarried a few months earlier. I like my stepdad and we get along fine. My stepsister, Sarah, who is 26F, and we're friendly but not besties by any means. She is kind of an intense party girl, and being in our 20s we only saw each other at family events. So, I introduced Tim to my family, at which point we learned that Sarah used to date Tim when they were 20. It was only a few months and Tim said they broke up because she made out with another guy at a nightclub while drunk. Sarah got upset and started saying I had to break up with him because it was weird. She called Tim her sloppy seconds, and tried to get our parents to force us to break up. I said no. It had been years since they'd been together, and I didn't even know Sarah when she was dating Tim. I got pretty upset because my family jumped on the bandwagon of saying we should break up. For the past few years at any family gathering, Sarah would mention how they used to date and act like I stole her boyfriend, and has been selling that narrative to my family and friends. It became obvious that she was jealous. But I liked Tim, so we just ignored it and kept dating. So now a few years later Tim and I live together, and we've been talking about marriage and stuff, and I recently had a conversation with my mom about how I thought Tim was going to propose because he's not exactly subtle, and we've talked about this for a while. At which point Sarah, who just moved back in without parents, walked in. She started asking a bunch of invasive questions about our relationship and being weird. Sarah is 4 months pregnant. The father, she said, was some deadbeat guy she'd hooked up with who wants nothing to do with her, but she wants to keep the baby. I'd been making an effort taking her to appointments and offering to help babysit and trying to be excited for her. Until a week ago, when my stepdad sent me a long text saying how I can't marry Tim because he is the real father of Sarah's baby. I was immediately very upset and confronted Tim, who was completely shocked and said Sarah was lying. He said there's no way and he didn't cheat on me, and he would gladly have a paternity test to prove that. Unsure, I asked Sarah for more details about when they slept together, which she says happened a few times. She was shaky and went back and forth on details. The dates and times don't match up with what I can remember of what Tim and I have been doing. She also said she came to our house to see him, but since COVID I've been working from home. So, I can't imagine that they managed that. I'm pretty sure now that she's lying to get us to break up because she's still jealous. But now my family are involved and have been sending me hateful messages saying I need to break up with Tim and let him be with Sarah. She's telling everyone he's in love with her and I'm keeping him from her. She has no proof and he strictly denied everything. I texted her asking for proof of any of this happening, and she sent me some fake photoshopped screenshots that I can tell are fake, where she's put Tim's name over a friend's number and pretended he was messaging her. I checked in the friend all but admitted it to me and tried to laugh it off. She badly photoshopped the timestamps. I actually don't know what to do now. I believe Tim and we are still together, but this has kind of thrown a wedge in everything. Sarah has poisoned my relationship with our parents and my family. I feel sick to my stomach, and Sarah is now saying she won't give me a paternity test. For now, I've cut everyone off except Tim, but I don't know what to do now. A user in the comments said, "Since it seems like this is now a family affair, go to your parents and tell them Tim demands a paternity ASAP before anything happens. Ask them if Sarah isn't lying, why won't she do a paternity test to prove he's the father?" Another user said, "Since she's denying a paternity test, I would get a lawyer involved. Tell them a woman is claiming he's the father but won't allow the test. I'm sure a lawyer could get this settled. And if your parents still believe her after she denies the test, I'd say cut your losses, cut them out, and move on. Move away somewhere cool and live your best life." The next one is titled, "Update to the Stepsister Story." I had kind of forgotten about this post because life has been so hectic. But baby was born yesterday and reminded me of this. A few people have been asking for updates, so I spoke to my parents. Tim offered to do a paternity test. We gave them an ultimatum to believe me or have me out of their lives. Initially my parents backed Sarah, mostly because she was pregnant and had nobody else. The deadbeat who knocked Sarah up reached out to me privately because he had been sure that he fathered Sarah's baby, as they'd been hooking up at the time and he wasn't sure what was going on. Sarah told him she was having the pregnancy terminated apparently. Deadbeat reached out to my parents and said he wanted to fully support the child and Sarah. Turns out he's a plumber with a very good income and wants to be a dad to his kid. But he doesn't want to be with Sarah at all. Sarah still won't admit to lying about the affair, but after realizing people weren't falling for it, she switched to faking a mental illness to cover for her deception. I do believe she is mentally unwell, just not in the way she tells it. I have also figured out what a master manipulator she is. She fed my parents tidbits and small lies to make her giant lie seem more credible. Tried to slowly turn them against me so they more easily believed Tim was in love with Sarah. Things are still strained with my family, but I feel I'm making progress, and Sarah has moved on to getting attention for being pregnant, sick, so she's not obsessing over Tim anymore. Though I refuse to be around her. Baby was born today. I pray for that little guy. It's going to be a long and difficult life with that mother. My cousin went to visit and sent me a photo of the birth certificate. Father is listed as deadbeat guy. And finally, Tim did propose, but we're planning a long engagement. Sarah is not invited to the wedding. The next one is titled, I, 23F. Accidentally overheard my parents talk about kicking out my 25M older brother. Should I get involved? I know that based off of my older brother and I's age that some people would probably say, we're both old enough to not live at home or rent someplace, which is probably true, but I guess I should provide a bit more context. To make things a little easier, let's call my older brother Miguel. A couple years back, when my older brother and I first started attending university, we took to living away from home differently. Since Miguel is older, when he left home it felt like a drastic personality shift from the guy that I grew up with. He rarely ever called home, only ever texted me because he didn't know how to cook, even after teaching him several times at home, went out to party frequently, and wasn't doing very well in classes. Despite all this, whenever I had the chance, a friend and I would drive up to see him and I would cook some things for him in bulk. Until just when I was about to start university, Miguel dropped out and came back to live at home to study at a more local university. No problem, I went off and did things a little differently. I called home every day, I get anxious very quickly, visited home every chance that I got, and dove into finishing school. Graduating around the same time that my brother would have if he had continued his studies. Afterwards I came to live back home. It's been a couple years and things seem to be boiling over, mainly between my mother and Miguel. About 2 years ago, he started bringing a girl he referred to as a friend to the house. In simple terms, she was very much ABTCH to both Miguel and us. She never let him come to family events, and when she did, it was only to eat and would then head straight to the bar. Continuously talked crap about some of our family traditions when she thought we couldn't hear her, and so many other things. When she threatened to destroy a present that I gave him for his birthday, something clicked, and he broke up with her immediately. He recently started seeing another friend, and I know absolutely nothing about this one. Only thing I know is that when she calls, she expects him to be out the door immediately, and he comes home by 4 a.m. to sleep for 3 hours before he has to get ready for work. He is spending more than what he has in his account on drinks and eating out. This brings us to the situation. When I went for my morning cup of tea, I overheard my parents talking, and my mom thinks that they need to kick him out. She's tried talking with him, threatened to talk with the girl's parents and have them married, etc. They are at the end of their rope with worry and think that kicking him out will be the best solution to make him snap out of it. That it will be a wake-up call that this girl is only using him, and that when he doesn't have the means to sustain her wants, will drop him. Is there anything that I can do? Or does something to get involved? I love my older brother and I think that it is really drastic to kick him out. That is his family, we should be there for him just like with his last relationship. Or am I being unrealistic? A user in the comments said, "You're babying him. You cooked for him in bulk at school and now are trying to take care of him at home. If he's not respecting your parents in whatever way, then yes, he has to go. Your parents aren't allowing you two to live at home so he can spend all of his money on some girl like that. If anything, talk to him about his plans for the future." Another user said, "Miguel needs to learn to behave like an emotional adult. Enabling him will nullify that. You are a wonderful and caring sister, but you are parenting him as he was 4-year-old. I am wondering what was going on in the family when Miguel was young and growing that would lead to his behavior now. The next one is titled, Update. I, 24F. Accidentally overheard my parents talk about kicking out my 26M older brother. So much has happened in the months since I asked for some advice about what I should do, and it was a very bitter pill to swallow when I saw the comments that I did. The thought that I was enabling and babying my older brother was a complete shock. It really made me evaluate what I was allowing to happen, and even though it hurt, made the choice to stop helping him. A number of boundaries had to be set between us that I never pictured I would need to make, but it really helped set expectations of what he could do and what I allowed. I suppose that Miguel was surprised about it because he didn't expect me to be so firm about what I would help him with and what I refused to get involved. Slowly Miguel seems to prefer staying at home and watching movies with us. He isn't going out as often, becoming better at managing his money, etc. For maybe about 2 months, things seemed to be getting better, and one weekend when I went away to a socially distanced bridal shower, my younger brother calls me in a panic if I had seen or heard from our brother. Confused, I ask him what's happened, and it turned out that the weekend I went away, my brother had gone out and for 2 days hadn't been answering his phone. This freaks me out because all I can picture is the absolute worst case scenario. I immediately start driving home and calling my older brother several times in hopes that he'll answer. Halfway home, he finally calls me back and I get on the side of the road to answer. I am crying and berating him that he needs to come home or call. We thought the worst had happened. Basically, letting out all the frustration that had built up. He doesn't say a word through it all, and my thought is he doesn't care, but by the end he only says, "I'm sorry. I love you and I'll be home soon." Summarizing what my younger brother tells me, Miguel had hit rock bottom in his drinking, his lady friend had broken things off, and he had spent too much of his money on friends. Ashamed he couldn't face us and preferred to run away from his problems, but getting so many calls from us made him realize that he was hurting us in the process. Things were tense for a long time, and we all feared that something worse would happen, but they didn't. It's been about 4 months now, and Miguel's gotten love and support from us along with extended family, has gone to therapy, is taking classes for a degree, his girlfriend, not lady friend, encouraged him to try again, and things really seem to be better. I won't act like it's all rainbows and sunshine. That scare really solidified that my brother was hurting and not doing well, but thankfully he isn't lost to us. The next one is titled, You Don't Want Me to Lie? Say goodbye to your sugar daddy. When I was fairly young, my parents separated and then divorced. My dad eventually moved to a small town up the coast. I stayed with my mom and soon-to-be stepdad. From ages 4 to 10 I lived with my mom and stepdad, spending holidays with my dad up the coast. A little after I turned 10, my mom asked what I wanted to do. Live with my dad or come with them when they moved to a small mountain town. I opted to move with my dad. For the first year with my dad, it was fine. Poverty-stricken, but we managed. I finished grade 5, and over the summer he had decided he wanted to move and get a roommate. Except this roommate was chick that I didn't like. There was something wrong with her that I couldn't figure out till I was older. I'm going to call her V. V immediately tried to supplant my mother. She would discipline me, teach me chores, etc. All things I would need to learn regardless. What bothered me was my dad had the hots for her and he basically just let her walk all over him. He ended up paying the majority of the bills, she took over the space, her word was law, etc. I plan on writing some stories on how my father was known for being an entitled person enabler. At some point she got pregnant by her then boyfriend. He was a well-off musician with family money and lots of property. She scored. Was she happy with that? Nope. She would drive around with me in the car. One of the places she would stop was some ramshackle trailer in the boonies. I was always left in the car when we went there. Sometimes V would leave the trailer looking very disheveled and a tall blonde guy would grab at her as she walked to the car. At the time I was 11 years old and had pretty good idea what she was doing. I had no plans on saying anything. I knew the baby daddy and I liked him well enough, but I didn't think it was any of my business. Well, at least till V pulled some crap on me. I can't even remember what she screamed at me for, but I got lectured and V told me that I must always tell the truth. Lying was bad, etc. etc. My dad stood there and just let her. Cue malicious compliance. Shortly after V's tirade, she had left to visit the guy in the trailer. Not too long after that, the phone rang. This was 1992, no cell phones yet. It was the baby daddy trying to contact V. Apparently they had made plans to meet up in a couple of hours and he was looking to speak to V. From this point on, I'm going to abbreviate the names like this. Me, dad. Obvious V. V as previously stated, BD. Baby daddy BD. Hey, kiddo. Is V there? I have a moment of clarity. Me. Hi, BD. V isn't home. She's at trailer guy's place. Momentary silence. BD. Did you say trailer guy? Me. Yes, she left about 45 minutes ago. BD. Clearly distressed. Thanks, kiddo. Nothing happened for the rest of the night, at least that I know of. The next day was a complete crap storm. V came home and went straight for me. Screaming, crying, throwing things. My dad rushed in and asked what the hell was going on. V. She told baby daddy about trailer guy. How dare you? He broke up with me, he wants nothing to do with me and it's all her fault. She's ranting and crying. She ended up revealing the truth. While she was visiting, trailer guy BD showed up and banged on the door. Apparently he knew exactly who I was talking about. Whether they were in the same group of friends or something else, I still have no idea. BD yelled and banged on the trailer till V came out. He confronted her about her cheating, whether her pregnancy was even real, if the baby was his, etc. Trailer guy had no idea about her pregnancy and freaked out as well. Both of them completely shunned her and left her standing there with her clothes and her car. She apparently spent the rest of the night driving around till she ended up at BD's house and went crazy on his door, demanding he let her in and take her back, etc. He ended up calling the cops on her and they escorted her off his property with a warning. Eventually she made her way home and decided to take her anger out on me. V is screaming and asks me why I would do something that would destroy her life. Me. You told me that I shouldn't ever lie. So, I did what you asked me. I told the truth. V. That isn't what I meant about always telling the truth. Dad. She's right. You punished her not telling the truth. She only did what you asked her to do. V looked like a guppy. Mouth agape and sputtering. She stormed off. I later found out that the BD only agreed to child support and some visitation, but not in her company. I never heard about the trailer guy again. My dad ended up moving to another small place. I ended up moving in with my mom and stepdad for 2 years before moving back in with my dad. V never recovered. She became a thorn in my side for years to come, but that's for another post. This is the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed the relationship stories. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video and write a comment. I really appreciate your support and it helps my channel so much. Thank you.